Hey cousins, and welcome to the Sunday Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Alicia J, and I'm so glad that you came to spend a few minutes of time to be with me here today. I see you're growing and you're glowing, and I love this look on you, but I think it's time for you to learn what it means to put your faith over your fear. It's time for you to really understand the importance of your faith and how much your faith can strengthen your next move. And let's talk about it. But first, I am on camera for the first time, so it is a little bit different. I'm testing out a few different things, so hopefully I can connect with you guys on a little bit of a more personal basis instead of being just a voice that you hear. But if you're listening in on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, you'll still only hear my voice, but you can always come to my YouTube and subscribe. Don't forget to like and comment down below if you have anything that resonates with you here today. But let's go ahead and get into it. Today we're going to be talking or referencing the scripture, Psalms 56 verse 3. So the scripture is coming from Psalms 56 verse 3, and it says, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." It's literally the most simplest Bible verse that you can find, but it speaks the most volume to me. And a lot of times we experience fear in different ways. We can experience fear in self-doubt or challenging the very God that we're supposed to be worshiping, the very God that we're supposed to be listening to and following and asking him for guidance, the same God that we're praying to. We're challenging him with our own internal self-doubts because we can't see his vision. And fear can blind you. And not only can it blind you, but it can prohibit you from moving forward. And I think that a lot of times, even me being in my 20s, I kind of come up against certain situations where I feel like I could do things a little bit better. But maybe I'm a little bit nervous or a little bit shy or a little bit discouraged by the potential outcomes that I could have. And so I'll put it off. I think that really does me a disservice because, and also it's a little bit disrespectful to God because it's almost like I don't trust him. It's almost yeah, I'm asking you to take me to the next level. I'm asking you to take me to the next place in my life where I can only imagine or dream to be. But I have this fear, and anxiety just keeping me back. So I want to talk to you guys about why it's important to really hone in your, this is outside, but why it's important for you to really hone in your faith and put it over the amount of fear that you have. You want to have so much faith that the fear becomes really not important, not even relevant. So I'm going to give you a couple of ways that I've been personally working on increasing my faith to overcome the fear that I may have. And I'm going to use this as an example. And by this, I mean my podcast. For the longest time, I started my podcast back in November of 2023, and it is October 2024. It's been almost a full 12 months of me doing my podcast, and there's a lot of things that I feel like I could do better that I literally haven't because I've been afraid of the potential outcomes that I could have, which ultimately for me is failure. I think that hiding behind a screen, number one, was really like the easiest example of having an excuse, because it really was fear. I was really fearful of coming on camera because I felt like I wouldn't be coming on camera and I wouldn't the way I would come on camera wouldn't transpose or would take away from the message that I was trying to give. And honestly, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the way my insecurities is pulling up into fear. And I feel like that was prohibiting me from having, I would say one of the reasons why it was prohibiting me from having the success that I would want to have. And so now what I'm doing is I'm forcing myself to actually attack my fears and my insecurities head on. So today I am on camera. And what it took for me to get here was I had to be real with myself. I had to really ask, why am I not on camera? When I watch other YouTubers on YouTube and on Instagram with their clips and everything like that, they really connect to their audience by being on camera, by being on screen. Someone has a face to a name. And while my podcast did have clips and selfies here and there of me, you really couldn't get the extra piece of personality coming through the screen. And while it is not about me, this podcast, it is about showing up authentically, or as authentically as possible. So one of the first things I did was I wrote down everything, all my insecurities with regards to me not coming on camera. And I then wrote down my next thing was, well, where am I right now? Right now I have 45 subscribers or so, almost 300 followers on Instagram, and I'm almost to 100 followers on TikTok. But I've recently gained those followers, and those followers on TikTok and Instagram have been a result of me coming on camera for at least the last 7 days. And so it just goes to show that the proof is in the pudding. When I put my fears aside, God is carrying me through and handling the rest of his promise so that I could fulfill my purpose, which is to get this message out to as many people as possible and to share encouragement to as many people as possible. So those were my first 2 things that I did. And now my third thing is actually doing the work. So now I'm on camera. And I think a lot of times, even though this is a smaller example, people go through a lot of different things, and this can apply anywhere. If you're scared about making that career change, or if you're scared about going for a job that you feel a little bit unqualified for, you have to take your fear out of it and put your faith where your mouth is, where your money is. You know what I'm saying? If you want to cash in on God's blessings, you have to put the faith in too. You're going to do the work, but you need to have the faith that God is going to be able to carry you through. And I think that I am super excited for the next 12 months with my podcast, and I'm excited about the growth that I've been having, and I am ready to see what else we have in store here at the Sunday Reset Podcast. I also want to start collaborating with other podcasters and kind of get other people's perspectives and stories and things of that nature. But I think that's why I wanted to talk about faith over fear, because it is so easy to find the excuses to not do something. It's that much harder to find the excuses, or the reasons rather, to actually do something. And so kudos to anyone who is actually working towards their purpose. If you haven't started yet, I highly encourage you to. get started, but not without starting on those first few steps, which I said was to identify your fears, to identify where you are, and to take action. I think that you guys are going to do such great things. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for listening in. That's really all I have for you guys. I will see you next Sunday. And as always, you're glowing and you're growing always. Bye.